Good morning, and welcome to our morning conversation. This week's preaching lesson is about Daniel in the lion's den. That's a familiar story that's often used to illustrate faithfulness in the face of pressure and danger, or trusting in God to see us through difficult times, or God's ability to rescue and to save us. So I wanted to talk a little bit to my friend here today about a story she has that illustrates trusting in God. Wendy, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about how you're connected to Trinity?
Hi, I'm Wendy Pepkowski, and we joined the church about a year and a half ago. We were involved in a Lutheran church back in Quakertown, which was where we moved from, and found Trinity after several attempts of trying to find a church that you felt like at home. But Trinity has been awesome and, is now our home out here. So that's how we came here.
Good. Well, we're very glad to have you. So you had a story about a time in your life that you had to trust in God even when you were afraid or when things were really stressful. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it's been a while, but has stuck with me. So back in 1999, my husband John had a stroke while playing softball for our church league back home in Quakertown. And we had two small children, ages 5 and 7. Mm-hmm. And when he had it, we didn't know he was having it. Like, he ricocheted off the fence. They checked him out. They thought he was okay, but he came home the next day and he said, I think I need to go get checked because I see 4 sets of headlights coming towards me driving home.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, what? And so anyway, we called the specialist, and, the eye specialist got there, sent us to the hospital, and everything went haywire from there. And pretty much he had a spot in his brain that affected his peripheral vision and his vision. So he had to learn how to do basically everything again, like crossing a street, pouring a glass of milk. He couldn't even do that because he couldn't see well enough to know how full the cup was. And
yeah,
so we had help from a lot of specialists and, eye specialists and all this, but it was really hard for me, going through that. So putting my faith in God that he was going to get us through this and get me through it, more importantly, because I had to be the one to hold it together for the kids and my husband. But as the weeks went on, I realized not only did I have to trust in him, but I had to trust in our friends from church and realizing it's okay to ask for help, and taking that help, because we were very, you think you're independent, you think you can handle it all, but you can't, because he's the one in control. You're not controlling it. So we had to rely on a lot of people helping us. And after, I think it was about 6 months, he was off of work and he couldn't drive. And even when he went back to work, he couldn't drive. But our wonderful friends at church, we had a lot of retired gentlemen that offered to come pick him up at our house, and they would drive him to work every day. And it was a 35-minute drive. It wasn't, a 10-minute drive. They drove him to work every day, and then someone else picked him up at night and brought him home.
Oh my gosh.
So we were truly blessed in that time. But since then, it has been a true blessing for us. We always have been believers and everything, but going through something like that really changes your whole attitude about life. You're, realizing, like, again, who's in control of your life. It's not you. Right. And just always being willing to accept a hand when someone's offering it to help, and also for us to offer help to others when they're in need. So it really kind of went full circle. But the good news is we're all good now. My girls survived. It was very traumatic for my girls, even my younger one. To this day, if something happens to him, she totally freaks out because she was there when it happened. So that was a traumatic event for her. But the good news, he's able to drive again after, I think, 9 years. Can just drive just back and forth to work. No nighttime driving or long distance or anything like that, but enough to keep him sane that he can drive.
Right. Yeah, he's regained that much independence.
Yes.
That's really amazing. It sort of reminds me of the times we're in now, in that, like, we a lot of us, I'm this way, and I'm sure you're this way, you guys were this way, that like we want to do things on our own. We want to be
Mm-hmm.
self-sufficient. We don't want to ask for help, not because we don't appreciate it when other people help us, but because we don't want to bother them, or we don't want to be a burden to any. But like you said, the thing that we learn in life sooner or later is that there are things that are bigger than we ourselves can handle
Mm-hmm.
by ourselves, and that like you said, you had to rely and trust in God, but really you had to rely and trust in your friends and neighbors, your people at church. And that's how God works, I'm convinced, in the world, is
Absolutely.
through the other people. Did it draw you guys closer as a family to go through
Oh,
this?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then we lived about half an hour away from all of our family.
Okay.
So in the whole process, we had to actually sell our house and buy a new house and move down closer to them, because I needed help with the kids, because you couldn't rely on your church friends forever, but your family stuck with you. So they were a big help. So not only with our children did we get closer, we got closer with my husband's entire family, because we were always close, but that really made a difference. My brother-in-law then drove John back and forth to work, because they worked together for years. My sister-in-law helped with watching the kids. So it really tightened the bond, not just with our immediate family, but with the extended family.
I'm really glad to hear, number one, that he's doing good now, and I'm also really glad that you learned through that time to trust in God, and to even though it was scary, certainly, that God shows up in those times like that.
Just another addition to that. So yeah, I said, we learned from that. It really strengthened our faith. But 2 years ago, we actually moved out here, and John had gotten a job offer out here. And, we thought we would be staying in Quakertown for our entire life, because that's where we made our life, and John couldn't drive a whole lot and all that. So when he got this offer, I'm like, this is crazy. We're not moving out there. And just did a lot of praying to God. And I was like, you know what? He helped us through so many things in our life. Like, let's just put it in his hands and see what happens. And so to show how he works in mysterious ways, within 3 weeks, my husband took a job. We came out here, bought a house. We put our house on the market and sold it. And I think within 6 weeks, he was out here already. So
wow.
to turn your whole life around when you had no intention of doing that. And I really believe it was his way of saying, this is what I want you to do with your life, because now you're closer to both of our kids. One lives in Mount Joy, one lives only an hour away. Before they were both 2 hours away.
Right.
So I really feel that it was his working somehow through John's job to get us closer to our family again, closer to our grandchildren. And here we are. And we're at Trinity. So you just know you always have to trust in God, that he's always there. Like you said, in mysterious ways, you may not even realize he's there doing whatever he's doing, but that's what we got to hang on to, especially in these times that we're going through right now. Just keep the faith.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it. Sooner or later, God's always there, like you said, but sooner or later, you are going to see, all of us are going to see how God is there, and how God is showing up, and what God is doing to, get you to where you need to be.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for having this conversation with me, Wendy. It was really great to talk to you today. We're really glad to have you at Trinity, and I'm really glad that you're just a person and an example of keeping the faith in the world.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thank you. Bye.